Hi, Heather here from Creative Kiwi. This is a video I have been meaning to make for a long time, so I'm glad I've finally got it finished for you. And it's just how to use basting stitches to stabilise your fabric in the hoop, and also how you can use them to align designs precisely. Now, if you've got a machine that has an automatic basting stitch, then please learn how to use it. What I have done is I've put up a freebie set that has all the fairly standard hoop sizes that you can use if you don't have a basting function on your machine, but just they are the generic set sizes or the hoop sizes. Whereas if you've got a basting function on your machine, it will actually baste related on the design you have, so it may be easier. But if you don't have that function on your machine, then please feel free to download the set. The links will be underneath this video and available anytime on the website. So let's get into it. If you're using our free designs, the first thing you can do is just load the hoop size you're going to use into your machine. And you can see there I've got two designs. I've got the 4x4 basting and the sloth. And you need to load the basting design first. Now we're going to stitch that basting design onto the stabiliser. So let's take the opportunity now to see this is how we set up our hoops. We use, in this instance, it's a cutaway stabiliser, and we use the pinning method. And this is just to stop any movement in the hoop. Now I'm going to float the batting and the fabric over the hoop. I just do it at the machine, but obviously you could precisely align that if you want to. And I would also use this method for towels. Anything that you don't want to hoop or that you have problems hooping, you can float over the hoop and then stabilise it or secure it by stitching the basting stitch. So here we go. Now I'm using a contrast thread so you can see, but obviously you could just use a white piece of thread. You're going to remove this at the end anyway. Now I'm just using the plain basting stitch for this particular one because the whole purpose of it is just to secure that fabric and batting down on the hoop. So you can see the space, the inner space is all nice and taut. Not too tight, but just taut, so you know you're going to get a good stitch out. So I've just shown there, I just picked one of my free designs. You feel free to download this, just the sloth, but I thought it would show how you can be confident that you're going to have your outlines all stitching in the right place. So there we go. You can see, I think I picked one with enough outlines on it. You can see they're all in the right place. The eyes are all in the right place. You know, there has been minimal movement in that hoop, and therefore the design has stitched how it's meant to. So say I would use this method for towels, definitely for towels, or if you were doing something like a continuous panel on a quilt where you don't want to have to re-hoop accurately the batting and the fabric. You'll see it more in the next part of the video where we do the aligning. But anyway, as you can see there, once you've actually completed your design, you're going to actually remove those stitches. So I've just got a quick unpick, and you can see I'm just easily removing those stitches. Just that little one in the corner, you just need to probably cut the knot off on the back, which you can see I've done there. So there you go, perfectly aligned design. Now we're going to get on to the next part of the video, which is how we do aligning stitches. Now this particular set, it's a quilting set. I actually have the aligning stitch in the design. So you don't actually have to download it separately, but it's just to show you the concept of how you could use them. So you can see on the picture there, it was a 4x4 design, and I just rehooped it, or I stitched it out 4 times with that aligning stitch and got it pretty close to perfect. It was not quite perfect, but that was operator error. It was not the design issue. It was just I should have taken a wee bit more time on one of the hoopings. But you can see when you get that design, there is the blue, which is the basting stitch with some alignments, the centres and the sides, and just the heart, the quilt hearts. Now you're going to start exactly as before by hooping the cutaway stabiliser and using the pins to secure the stabiliser. And then the first stitch out, which is this aligning stitch, or basting stitch with the aligning marks in it. And again, I need to say, if you've got a machine that has its own aligning feature on it, or a camera, like my brother has a camera. You learn how to use those methods. They will be easier than what I'm showing here. So this is again is what you can do if you don't have some of those bells and whistles with your machines. So you can see there I've got some little thumbtacks. What we're going to do is we're going to press them in on the back of the stabilizer, right on those marks. And this is just going to help you align. And just checking that the actual pin part is coming right in on the edge. Now for the first one, I've obviously got a large piece of fabric with some batting. You know, I'm trying to make it a line in the centre, but it's not actually too important on this one. It's just really just to have the starting point. But you can see there you need to sort of feel your way through. Now, from trial and error, the next part I'm going to show, I found, I didn't find the drawing pins quite easy to get lined up, but it was getting this part to the machine without any movement. So what I've done is I found, for me, what works better is double-sided tape. Now, it's completely up to you. Some people use glue sticks just to put a wee bit of glue outside that stitching line. If you are confident pinning outside that stitching line, you can. Say for me, it works doing the double-sided tape. The main issue is getting the other side of the tape off, which I show here. And basically, I just score it with a pin and then lift it off. But it probably takes longer to put the tape on than the rest of it. Let's say you can use glue sticks. What you see with the basting stitches, that's where the design's going to stitch next. So whatever method you can use to make sure that your fabric's going to stay in that position till you get it to the machine is what you can do. And you can see here I do the tape, and I also just pin, and I'm just really pinning in quite loosely there, just as I say, to keep the fabric in place until I get to the sewing machine. Now the main thing to remember is to remove the thumbtacks. You don't want to go off to your machine with those thumbtacks in there. So there we go, we've got it, the fabric and the batting secure. Now we're off to the machine. Now I've shown this on the 4x4 hoop, mainly so you can see easily on the video. You can obviously do this on the bigger hoop. I just don't have such a big workspace to show you the finished design. So I've just done 4x4, plus obviously it was a bit quicker for me. So anyway, you get you're off to the machine. I take away the pins at that point if I'm quite happy that the fabric's in the right place. And as I say, for this first one, you're just really trying to centre it on the fabric. And again, I'm using the contrast thread so that you can see it. Obviously, if you were doing this on a quilt or something, you could use probably monofilament, the clear thread. That would be a handy one to do. Or I have heard of dissolvable thread that you can use for basting. I've never used it, but I guess that's another option. But as you can see there, we've just stitched out that heart design. And round one is finished. Now it's just a matter of removing the hoop from the machine, and you'll see there I'm just cutting away the excess stabilizer just to take the bulk away and make it easier for your next hooping. Now on that, I've chosen I was quite keen really, I've chosen a design that needs to match in quite a few places, and I nearly got it right. I missed on one, you'll see on the next hooping. But I mean, obviously, not all designs have to be matched quite so accurately, so please don't get put off if you think this looks hard. It isn't actually hard. It's just, as I say, for this particular design, I'm trying to match 100% perfect. And the fact I've got contrast thread really shows up everything. Generally, if you were doing this on either a large quilt or, I don't know, you'd have it in more matching thread anyway, so you probably wouldn't have to be quite as precise as I'm trying to be here. But anyway, we're on to the second hooping, so you can see I've stitched out the basting line again. I'm putting on the double-sided tape that I like to use. Again, you could use a little glue stick, quilt spray. You might find it you prefer just to pin it in, just whatever works for you. Now I'm going to put the thumbnails in. You just have to be mindful of which side you need the thumbnails in. So for that particular one, I think we've got it there in the right place. And again, just check that the pins are coming up right in those corners. You can see there I changed that one a wee bit. Right. And now we're just going to match those points. And again, there's no easy way to do this. You just need to kind of feel the point and get it through in the right spot. And I found it easier the more I did. I've done another couple since then that I probably should have videoed because I was probably a little bit better at it. But yeah, it does get easier. You just feel the way, feel it in. And there we go. We're just smoothing out that fabric onto that tape. And so we've got fabric and batting here, so it's quite a, quite chunky, I guess. And just pinning it into place, and this is just to get it to the machine. So, you might even miss the step. If your machine's right next to you, you might be quite confident that you can just take it over like from at that point. Again, don't forget to take out the thumbtacks. And back to the machine. Now, I don't really show it here, but there's a few little tricks you can do just to see whether you are aligned first of all. The first thing, I guess, is just advance the design one stitch, because that's going to take you to the starting point. Now, it doesn't work on this particular one because you've got nothing to align it with, but if you were doing an alignment on the other side, you'd be able to see straight away whether or not it was in line. Or the other thing you could do is run this without any thread, and that way you could check with the holes and see whether you've got it just about in line. Now I think this one, I was pretty happy with this. Yeah, I got as close as I can, and you can see those 3 points, they're matching really, really well. So as I say, I was pretty happy with this. So I carried on and stitched out the heart design. Pretty perfect, I think. And again, just as we did before, we're just going to remove from the hoop, cut away that stabilizer. Now these designs were obviously aligning exactly, so they are edge to edge. If you were doing a design, I think the bubbles one I show later, you actually have a little gap because the design goes right through, but you want a little bit of a gap. But anyway, here we are, on to the next one. We're going to match that up. Now I tried something different here and it didn't actually work. But anyway, I'll show you what I did because it could be an option that you might want to use. So I've done the same thing, the thumbtacks. Make sure they're fine. And so then I placed the design or the fabric in on those, against those marks. Now I didn't use the double-sided tape for this one. I thought I'd just try clips. Now I think in hindsight, the clips probably, maybe if I'd had little bulldog clips, these were just some of my sewing, I guess I call them pins, and I'm just not sure whether I had it held enough in place. I mean, it could have been operator error. So, I mean, if you find that you can use these clips, then by all means use that to secure the design. But anyway, as you can see here, I left them in. Not sure that I should have done that either, because whoop, one goes. But let's see what happened. And I guess this is the good thing with the line. You can see it's not lined up. Okay, so I guess that, as I say, that's a good thing. While it's a bit painful because you know you're going to have to take them out, you can tell before you stitch the rest of the design that it's not quite right. Now what happened is I thought that I had videoed me unpicking the basting stitch and starting again, but I didn't. So what I did do was I redid the basting stitch again. So I just unpicked and then we're going for round 2. And I did use the double-sided tape this time. So let's see how we go. And you can see it's a little bit off on that right side. But did I stop and redo it? No, I chose not to. So let's just see. You can tell. But anyway, I stitched it out. Now, if this was a tone on tone or a more not so contrasting piece of fabric, you probably would not notice the fact that it is out of line on that one. But because I've got the contrast feed, you can see. But anyway, rather than redoing everything, I've chosen to carry on. And let's see if we can get the next one right. So there we go, we've stitched it onto the stabilizer, and I should mention here, I haven't mentioned it before, the basting stitch that you're stitching on the stabilizer, you skip back and you stitch it again for the fabric. Okay, so I haven't got two lots of basting stitches in the file, you just do it once for the stabilizer and redo it again for the to hold the fabric. Now you can see there I've got 5 places to match up this time, so let's see how we go. I haven't shown it, but I've got that double-sided tape on there, smoothed it out. Taken the tacks out. And here we go. And this one I was really happy with. You can see in all the places it should be matching, it is matching. So I've gone ahead and done it. There we go. So we've got our panel done. So once again, we're just removing that stabilizer. And the next bit, this is where you get your unpicker. And if you're like me, you get your glasses. And it's just a matter of taking out those stitches. And I think I said before, you know, you could use, I think it's called dissolvable thread for this if you really wanted to, or even the monofilament, the clear quilting one, you wouldn't see it anywhere near as much. And it's because I've got such contrast here. You can, you know, it looks a bit horrendous before you get everything taken out. There you can see that one little area that I didn't do very well, but the rest of it, you know, pretty good really. Now this one I did on the 5x7 hoop, so it's 4 5x7 designs. Now, I mean, you can see obviously where they are, but once again, if you were doing this as a to do a background quilting for a quilt or something, if you didn't have quite a contrasting thread groupings, then it might look more like an all-over quilting design. And I can certainly tell you it was much easier to match because you didn't have to be as precise as the heart design. I should have videoed that one. Now I've just put this sample up. Doreena's great at it. She does panels for her quilts that she makes. And you can see there she's got a line of 4x4 designs. Now using the basting stitches would be perfect for that type of thing. Once again, you wouldn't have to be super accurate because you're really only going to be matching the center of the design and using the basting stitch to hold the fabric securely in the hoop or float the fabric on top of the hoop. So thanks for watching. I hope for anyone that hasn't used basting stitches before, I hope I've shown you how they can be used and how effective they really can be in making a good stitch out for you. And as I say, feel free to download the basting stitch designs if you don't have that functionality on your machine. Thank you. Bye.